What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist, and welcome back to a brand new episode of GrimDark Battles. This is a battle simulator where we pit the champions of the Warhammer universe against one another in an all-out brawl. In this installment, we have none other than two ancients going at each other's throats. On one side, we have the first mortal to ascend into demonhood, Be'lakor, and his opponent is none other than the Archmagos Dominus, Belisarius Cawl. Now, let's take a look at their feats, weapons, and wargear as we start off with the Imperial side. Belisarius Cawl. Belisarius Cawl was born a long time ago upon the world of Mars. He was genetically modified within his vat, and he was birthed as an adolescent. He had genius-level intellect, and he was able to create many new technologies. During the age of the Horus Heresy, he ended up having to kill his own master when she allied with Horus. Then he took a heretical technique and used it to transfer her intelligence into his own. Near the end of the war, Guilliman gave him a secret task of creating a Primaris gene seed, and also as a means towards resurrecting a Primarch. Fast forward to the events of the 13th Black Crusade, and boom, this dude is now pretty much 99% machine, and on top of this, he ended up doing the impossible. He improved upon the Emperor's design of the Space Marine, and he crafted the Armor of Fates, which alongside the help from the Eldari, ended up bringing back the Primarch Guilliman. However, working alongside the Eldar wasn't his first time working with Xenos. During the Fall of Cadia arc, he ended up working alongside Trazian the Infinite to activate pylons in order to close the Eye of Terror. We saw how that ended up. So as you can see, he's constantly teetering upon the edges of heresy with his scientific ways, as well as working alongside the aliens. However, he's been instrumental in the ascension towards having humanity become what the Emperor really envisioned for them. He's been a huge help, and nobody can fight against that. Now, if you really want to see his intellect really shine, there was a moment where he actually managed to trick the ancient star gods, the Catan, into basically giving him what Cawl wanted, and in exchange, he transferred the Catan halfway across the universe. Which just shows you that this guy can outsmart you even before you know what happened. Now that we know a little bit more about Belisarius' past, let's focus on his weapons and wargear, and yeah, he's got a ton of them. So let's start off with his Solar Atomizer, which is a self-made melt-a-weapon that shoots out thermal waves to melt away enemy war engines in seconds. The next one is called the Arc Scourge, and it is a Martian weapon that fires off energy circuits into the nervous system of the enemy by using multiple surging blue-white electricity to basically just either, if you're a machine, it's going to shut all your power off, and if you're a life form, it's going to mess up your nervous system, like I said previous. Next up, we have probably one of the most infamous weapons for the Martians, the Omnissiah Axe, which is a massive power axe that is the symbol of his faith towards the machine god. It is a power weapon of epic proportions. I mean, what more do you want me to say? It's a badass giant axe. Belisarius Cawl also has a Mechadendrite Hive, which is basically a shit ton of squirming iron tendrils that lash out and constrict the enemy. When he needs a few more helping hands, he has the use of the Scryer Skulls, which are basically servo skulls that analyze the battlefield as well as the enemy, and they dictate strengths, the weaknesses, and any other tactical information he may need. When it comes to defense, he has a Refractor Field, which is basically a weaker version of a Rosarius. However, it does distort the wearer's image with gravity energy. And finally, we come to the last piece of war gear, which is probably my favorite piece of his war gear, and that is the sub-calls. So Belisarius has created multiple pseudo-bodies, and he has injected them with various files of his personality. They are all restricted in a way so that no one sub-call tries to subvert the original. He has about a dozen of these or so, and they also include one of his most well-known creations, known as Cawl Inferior, which is an AI-based machine aboard Gilliman's flagship, and that is his way to communicate directly with the Primarch. Because of this, Gilliman is like super wary of Cawl, because he's like, yeah, this is artificial intelligence, like you should not be messing around with that. However, he kind of lets it slide because literally Cawl is the reason why he's alive. Call him a heretic, call him the hope of humanity, but you cannot argue that Belisarius Cawl has been instrumental in his entire life towards the betterment of humans. And with that being said, let's switch the script as we talk about Be'lakor, one of the worst threats to humanity. Throughout history, Be'lakor has gone by many names. The first Prince of Chaos, the Dark Master, the one who heralds conquerors, just to name a few. The reason why is because since the inception of humanity, he has been praised as a god throughout many, many worlds and cultures. He uses his ways to kind of gain influence from these primitives and then uses them as a means to attain power, wealth, and ancient artifacts. Legend says that he was the first mortal to ascend into demonhood, and that he is blessed by all four of the Chaos Gods. And as such, he is a very, very jealous individual of anyone who wields the chaotic powers of the gods. Therefore, he has even gone as far as to sabotage the plans of other Chaos worshippers, and this is all according to his own ruinous plans that will eventually bring him to greater heights. Because of all of these world-conquering ways of his, the text Magos Khyber has spent his entire life trying to unearth the history behind Be'lakor, and amongst his findings, he has found fossilized psyker bones carved into a demonic shape, scrolls of crumbling human skin detailing thousands bowing before a demon deity, and many more unholy reveals. However, Khyber is just a pawn in Be'lakor's game, for he is being used merely to uncover lost relics of power that Be'lakor has forgotten about, or as a means to erase Be'lakor's existence from ever being unearthed. When it comes to his war gear and weapons, he is literally the opposite of that of Cawl. Where Cawl has a vast array of weaponry, Be'lakor only needs one: his Blade of Shadows. And this demon weapon is a type of Ether Blade, which is a weapon that is capable of phasing in and out of reality. It has a shadowy form, and it's always twisting and turning, causing the enemy to struggle to pinpoint where the attacks will be coming from. This is all thanks to its reality flicker, which it can phase through any and all armor to slice the flesh and bone within with ease. And now that the combatants are all set, let's dive into this death battle! Let's dive into this GrimDark Battle. The dust swirls as a Thunderhawk gunship lands upon the sands of Pharaoh's second moon, Ammon. Down below, a Tech Magos awaits his master.
My lord, I have found him, a creature as old as creation itself, he who has moved unseen throughout the stars. Finally, after all these years, I found him. And even better, I have learned his name, his true name, Belloc.
Khyber's mechanical form is ripped in half as his lifeblood spills across the black iron sands of this moon. Standing right before Cawl, the mighty demon Be'lakor appears.
I can't have my past catch up to me. I'm sorry to say this, but this means your death too, Belisarius.
Cawl stands silently, as two scryer skulls float from behind him and begin to scan the demon before him. In a flash, Be'lakor whips his tail, sending the serval skulls flying as they crash apart.
That should be enough data,
Cawl remarks, as his solar atomizer starts to glow. A bright blue beam explodes out as Be'lakor's reflexes allow him to narrowly dodge the blast. He then takes to the skies as Belisarius continues to fire off 2 more shots.
Your weapon does pack quite a punch, but it's too slow, machine.
And with a mighty beat of his wings, Be'lakor descends. He summons his ether blade into his hands, and Cawl readies his massive omniscient axe. The blades clash for a mere instant before the shadow sword flickers from reality and rematerializes within Cawl's mechanical frame. As the demon pulls out his weapon, he severs Cawl's arm in the same motion. But from this wound, a mass of mechotendrils lash out and constrict Be'lakor before activating, and a surge of hot blue-white electricity sears the black flesh of Be'lakor. Be'lakor winces in pain as he brings down the shadow blade and slices off the tendrils.
I grow tired of your tricks. Let's end this.
And with a blood-curdling roar, the first demon begins a savage flurry of blows, as teeth, claws, tail, and sword all rip and tear apart chunks of iron, and Cawl can do very little against this barrage. Be'lakor then stops, as he notices a burning sensation rip through his midsection, and then another, and another, and another. 4 fist-sized holes almost rip him clean in half. Be'lakor coughs out blood as he turns around and sees 4 copies of Cawl surrounding him. In unison, they speak.
The serval skulls weren't the only thing scanning for your weakness. Now, your true name spoken, and it will banish you, demon. Return to the depths of the warp, Be'lakor.
And as they utter his name, they bring down their omniscient axes, and the demon is no more. The winner of this GrimDark battle is Belisarius Cawl. And there you have it, guys. The winner is Cawl, and in the poll, he won by a landslide. Cawl had 74% of the vote, while Be'lakor only had 26%. Now, you might pit this to just being as Cawl is part of the Imperium, and therefore the Imperium is more popular, so he's going to win. And I get that. I mean, that's generally what happens in these polls. However, the thing about Be'lakor is that he tends to be an older model, so a lot of you new guys were like, who the heck is Be'lakor? I've never heard of Be'lakor. Cawl created the friggin' Primaris. Cawl has been instrumental in 8th edition, and that's why he should win. However, these are decided by the lore, and as the lore dictates, Cawl isn't really much of a fighter. He's more of an innovator. He searches for STCs, he works on certain designs, and he creates things. However, that is a huge benefit to him because he isn't bound by any restrictions as we've seen. He works with Xenos, he integrates alien technology into his works, and the use of the Cawl inferiors is vastly great. Be'lakor, I'm pretty sure, doesn't really know how many of these Cawl inferiors he'd have to work against. He probably thought that the Cawl he was fighting was the original Cawl, and in terms of pure combat, hands down, Be'lakor is the better one. However, Cawl has a vast array of technology, weapons, wargear, that he can pretty much come up with a way to take down the demon. And that's exactly what he was doing. This whole first battle was just a way to kind of find out the strengths, the weaknesses of the demon, and his hubris is what brought him down. The demon was so full of himself, seeing how slow Cawl was, how his weapons weren't really doing much. He could literally just slip through the force field and just cut Cawl from the inside out. However, that's when the Cawl inferiors came into play, as he was basically trying to distract Be'lakor in order for these inferiors to get into a position where they can damage him. And not just that, but having Kyber be the one to summon Cawl on here was a huge win, because obviously Kyber would have known who Belisarius is, or not Belisarius, who Be'lakor is, and because of this, Cawl would be able to speak his true name, and as we all know, speaking the true name of demon banishes them into the warp, and it is essentially a battle of Hulk versus Ultron. And at the end of the day, the huge weakness of speaking the demon's name is what took down Be'lakor. So let me know if you guys agree with the way this battle went down. If you thought Be'lakor should have won, let me know how. And we'll see what you guys say in the comments. And if you guys really enjoyed these GrimDark battles, I've been posting like whole compilation videos. I've got the Imperium versus Chaos, Xenos versus Xenos, and it's just a really awesome series because it's interesting to like look at how these two combatants would have fought against one another. So with that being said, guys, I'm gonna give you the next GrimDark battle so you guys can also cast a vote. And that next battle will be